Good morning, girls and boys, and welcome to some more game analysis with me, Grandmaster Simon Williams, aka the GingerGM. And in this video, I'm going to take you over a game that I played recently from the PokerStars Isle of Man competition. And it was my round 8 game, and I was playing another Grandmaster, very strong Grandmaster, Harika, from India. And I'll just get a picture of Harika up now so you can put a face to the name. And Harika, there she is a very strong player. Just recently came third in the Women's World Championships. So she's on top form. She is a Grandmaster. She's about 25-50 ELO rating. And this was a very tough but interesting, tactical, crazy game. So this is kind of typical me, this game. A little bit way, a little bit whoa, and a little bit cuckoo. So yeah, it was a good game, interesting game. Don't know about good game. So we'll come on to it very shortly. Now, it was quite funny actually. After the game, my opponent was very upset. Understandable actually, because she was clearly doing quite well at some stages during the game. She was visibly upset. She did still kind of shake my hand. Now, I have this kind of rule in chess that before the game, if someone doesn't give me a proper handshake, I find that quite disrespectful and I get quite annoyed. You know, if someone puts their hand up like this when you're trying to shake it and you like grab it and it's just like slapping a wet fish. You know, you're grabbing a wet fish when you're trying to shake the hand. I don't like that. I want a proper handshake. And the same goes after the game, no matter what the results. And actually, the last time I actually played a female player was from Hastings, and she was from China. And I won this game, and she also refused to... Well, not also, because Harika did shake my hand, but this is the only time in my life that anyone's refused to shake my hand after the game. It was a long game, and I thought it was an okay game. I won the game, and she was so upset that she lost to me, some would say understandably, that she refused to shake my hand. And I took this quite personally, actually, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a game. You've got to shake your hand. A bit of gentleman behaviour is what you should do. And I complained to the arbiter because I thought this was very out of order. But, okay, I don't know. I don't think I behaved badly in the game. I just think I won and she was crying like a baby, basically. But that's not Harika. Harika's a very nice person. And I should like to say that the hair, this is the last time I'm going to wear hair like this. Last time I'm going to look like a bit of an idiot. I don't mind looking like an idiot when I'm sitting in my own room at home. But I actually just watched the last Samurai film with Tom Cruise. Unfortunately, it is Tom Cruise. But, you know, you can't have everything in life. But still a great film. So I'm still trying to cultivate the samurai look in my own room. I'm like the armchair ginger samurai who doesn't do any samurai type things. But yeah, I'll go back to normal things. So if you think, why on earth is he looking like such an idiot? Then, well, you know, I don't care. But anyway, on to the game. And let's have a look. So I had the white pieces here. And the game started with me playing d4, my usual move. And we quickly got into a Semi-Slav position. Now, this is a Queen's Gambit structure, but when black plays c6, it transforms into the Semi-Slav. And we say the Semi-Slav because the Semi-Slav is categorized when black plays this kind of triangle formation. The Slav is normally when black doesn't necessarily move the e-pawn. So the Semi-Slav when black moves the c-pawn and the e-pawn. Now, I've always been a massive fan of the move bishop g5 here, which is what I play. And I think this is one of the most fascinating, interesting and exciting chess openings in the world. You get really amazing positions, but I don't really bother looking at too much theory now. And Harika took me by surprise by playing this opening. So I was kind of just making a lot of this up, as we're going to see as we go along. But generally, you get such fascinating positions after this aggressive pinning move, because black now captures on c4, grabbing a pawn, but white strikes in the center with e4. Now, if I'm able to grab my pawn back on c4, I will clearly be better because of my central control, my pawns in the centre of the board. So black has to grab on to this pawn. And we get a very interesting pawn structure that I do go into a lot of detail in my forthcoming DVD for GingerGM. Buy the DVD, and it is on this type of structure. DVD 1 will be on the Slav, Semi-Slav, all structures like this where black wins a pawn but white gains the centre, and I give a full repertoire there. Now the main move here is to increase pressure on the pin on the knight, so e5, very natural. And if black doesn't want to lose a piece, which I'm sure Harika didn't want to do at such an early stage, she has to break the pin by playing h6. Otherwise she will lose the knight on f6. So now we retain the pin, and again black's next move is forced g5. So you can see crazy tactics already at such an early stage. Now an old move here used to be e takes f6, and then after pawn takes bishop, piece for piece, white threw in the knight to e5. And this used to be an old way of playing it, but it's been found that black has multiple good resources here to fight against this line. So the main move in this position is in actual fact the move knight takes g5, which is called the Botvinnik Semi-Slav, named after the great world champion Mikhail Botvinnik. And this gets incredibly mental after black takes on g5. Now I have played knight d5 here, which is like mental times 100. This is just insanity. Not the workout, by the way, but just pure insanity after knight takes f7. Well, I mean, what on earth's happening here? Queen takes h4, knight takes h8. I've tried this line as black, but this is not for your normal human being. The main line, though, if I quickly show you, which I didn't play this line, knight takes g5, because I didn't want to get involved with the latest theory, because I didn't know what the latest theory was. But the main line here is something like pawn takes g5, bishop takes g5, white is going to win the piece back on f6, knight d7, pawn takes f6, and now black castles queenside, because where else does the black king go? g3, something like c5, d5, queen b6, bishop g2, castles queenside, castles kingside. And obviously I know this position, but I don't know any extra theory from this moment onwards. I mean, the last time I looked at this was probably about 15 years ago. And I didn't want to play into this line because I was scared about walking into some sharp improvement from black. So I played a line here where I just moved my bishop back to g3. My opponent now, Harika, moves a knight into the centre of the board. Clearly a good square, a nice outpost. I can't budge that knight with any of my pawns. But what is kind of bad about black's position, because black is a pawn up, well, where does the black king go? This is the key point in this opening. Now that black has played g5, if the black king goes over to that side of the board, it's going to be exposed. White can often use a lever move. I say a lever because it levers open the position and attacks these pawns, something like h4. If the black king goes queenside, where it normally attempts to go, then I also have levers like a4 and b3. So the compensation that white has here is that the black king is never entirely sure of itself. It's a little bit in a confused state of affairs. Like it's come out of the pub, 1 o'clock in the morning, had a couple too many shandies, and it doesn't know the way home. That is what the king is like here. My king, on the other hand, can tuck itself nicely on g1. And I have a nice pawn on e5. Now, generally in this position, I've always played knight d2. And again, I go into depths about this move in the forthcoming GingerGM DVD. And I like this move because the knight comes into this nice square on e4 and later can attempt to hop its way into the guts of black's position on d6 and f6, the two squares I've highlighted. But again, fearing some kind of novelty, because I didn't expect this open at all, I quickly played bishop to e2, which is a really crap move. This is not happy days, because now I come under too much pressure on my knight on c3, and I am a pawn down, because the idea knight to d2, Another idea is that when the knight gets to e4, it over-defends its partner on c3. But after bishop e2, now the knight on c3 is quite hard to defend. My opponent at this moment, I thought it was quite funny. After I played bishop to e2, my opponent looked up at me like I was some complete idiot. I think it didn't come across like that. She just looked up a little bit surprised, realizing that bishop e2 is a mistake. But I kind of just recognized this glance that she made, and well, I mean, this is easy to do. Like I said, Harika, lovely person, very lovely person, but this move surprised her. But in general, even though I got a bad position here, I like these kind of double-edged dynamic positions where it's chaos on the board. I like trying to find the path through chaos. So my opponent puts pressure on c3 straight away. I defend my knight as I have to, and Harika increases the pressure on c3. And already I have to be very careful, because a normal move like queen c2, which is the square I want to put my queen on, because I'd love to castle and go knight to e4, but I don't have time for this, because now Harika could have played queen takes a2 had I played queen c2, which I didn't do. And if I castle, then simply something like bishop takes c3, and if the queens come off, I'm going to be lost. 2 pawns down. I need to keep the queens on to generate an attack of some kind. So again, my position is forced. I have to play queen to d2 to stop queen takes a2. Now, knight to d7, very logical move. And I fought for ages here, just trying to find a way to salvage my rather disgusting position. And I thought, well, I've got a castle. I've got to just get my king at least out of this pin and try to unravel later on. I spent a lot of time here trying to work out what was happening after something like g4. I have to move my knight. And the point of g4 is that my queen is now under-defended, so black can play now queen takes a2. And I spent ages trying to work out this complex position, but I thought maybe I'm just about okay here with some moves. Instead, my opponent played a very sensible move, bishop to b7. The move I was most concerned about was this knight coming to b6 to increase the pressure on c3. This was mildly terrifying. I think it's fair to say. What other things in life can be mildly terrifying? Like when you walk into the office doing your 9-to-5 job and you turn up, everyone looks at you and you suddenly realise you forgot to put your trousers on. Mildly terrifying. I've never had a 9-to-5 job, so luckily I've never been in that situation. And I often wear trousers, so that doesn't worry me so much. But this move was mildly terrifying in a chess sense. But what Harika played was also a very good move. Bishop to b7, developing. What can be wrong with that? Now queen to c2 kind of seemed forced to me so that I can move my knight on c3. Things heat up quite quickly. Harika took on c3 and broke with this move c5, a typical idea in this type of position. And now I thought, well, I didn't like my position. Black's got everything that black wants. I've wasted a lot of tempo. You shouldn't waste time in the opening. So I thought now it's time to spin the dice and to complicate the position a little bit more. A move like h4 would be, I think, a good move here. Maybe the move I should play. But I saw a possibility of trying to get a piece into this juicy d6 square. So I thought I'd go for it. And I played it quite quickly. Knight to d2, knowing that Harika has lost games in the past from getting very short a time. But this involves a rather dubious piece sacrifice. So black takes on d4, knight to e4. And this is my plan, just to get my knight to d6. d3, knight to d6, check, king to e7. Now, if I take on b7, Harika would just play queen b6, and I'm in losing position here. So I have to be brave and sacrifice. Bishop takes d3, pawn takes d3, queen takes d3. Now, obviously, I had foreseen this position and foreseen some more lines in this, and instinctively I thought this sacrifice wasn't enough because I'm just 3 points down at the moment. But I thought, okay, I've complicated the position. I've got the initiative. I love attacking. My knight is a beautiful piece stuck on d6. Maybe I have ideas of going f4 at some point, maybe of going c4. I have some practical chances here. And in chess, I think it's very clear that, and clear to me, that you've got to kind of just ignore what computers say sometimes. I've said this time and time again. People get too over the top and they go too along with the computer assessment. We are humans, we are not computers. Chess is a practical game. If you can get the initiative, even if it costs you material, as it has done here, and even gets you in what the computers say a bad position, it's often worth doing because it's more easy to attack than it is to defend, as this game demonstrates. And Mikhail Tal was the master of this. If you look at Mikhail Tal's games, the computer would basically say he's a patzer, but he was a genius because he created this kind of situation on the board where he got the initiative. And this is what I'm trying to do here, and this is probably what I do best in chess. Okay, but my opponent now played queen b6. Very logical move, but the queen is not so well positioned here. Harika should have played rook b8, because after queen b6 I now strike with c4, and at some point there could be issues on the b file. And again, my general idea here, being a whole piece down, is to open up lines, at some point try to attack the f7 square, and just to play like this. So okay, so now knight to f4 was a good move played, because if pawn takes c4, this allows me to go queen to f3, and all of a sudden there's ideas of rook b1 and queen takes f7. Things are a little bit tricky here for black. So knight to f4, a much better move, and I have to, well, my bishop on g3 is clearly not doing anything, so let's whip that knight off. Whoosh. And now black takes back. And here I took on b7. And here Harika probably should just play queen takes b7, when I was planning queen to d6 check and something like rook to d1. When I thought practically again, there may be some chances here with some open lines and the c-pawn coming forwards, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And of course, if you can simplify positions when you're trying to defend, this is a key thing to do. But Harika did not actually do this. And after this knight takes b7 move, she went into complications with knight takes e5, which I think is a mistake. And now maybe I'm okay after queen c3. Knight takes c4, queen to b4 check. I've got a piece back. I'm still a number of pawns down, but Harika's king is not entirely happy compared again to my king, and she's also running short of time. King to f6, and now I moved my last piece into the game, rook to d1, with ideas of coming to d7. Harika can't put a rook on d8 to contest the d file because my knight is guarding that square. And the point is, if queen takes b7, I go rook takes c4, and the rook will swing over, and I have a massive attack here. So this is starting now to get a little bit troublesome. Now Harika played what I thought at the time was a very clever move, rook to g8, fighting fire with fire, showing her great attacking ability. The point being now, if I continue with my idea rook d7, which on the surface looks very powerful because I have queen e7 coming, it's a very strong move from Harika. A counter blow, rook takes g2. And if king takes g2, queen c6 check, picking up my rook. And if I instead go king h1, then the lovely blow, rook takes h2 check. King takes h2, queen takes f2 check, and I'm the one who gets mated. We don't want that to happen. Well, maybe Harika does, but I certainly didn't. So this was a very crafty idea. But I now reroute my pieces with knight to c5, and now this knight is threatening to come into some very good squares. So I think the position is roughly equal here. The game continued. Queen c6 threatening mate, but now I have knight to d7 check first, and the king, the black king, has to block the rook on g8. So it tries to retreat to a safe place, but my queen comes into the guts, queen to e7. And I have ideas, queen f6 check, and things are now starting to turn in my favour. Harika, being a bit of shorter time, blundered now at e5. And I'll give you a little test here. What is the best move to play for white in this position. So pause the video now if you need to. Well, a key thing here is this knight on c4 is a great defender, especially of the e5 square. Now, an attacking unit of queen and knights, if you can ever attack with this combination, is one of the most powerful attacking units in chess. Devastating. So here I can actually afford to play the very good and strong rook takes c4. And this whole game really, as you can see, is me playing with as much energy as I can, because had I played passive at any moment, I think I'd have just lost this game without a fight. So realizing I got a bad opening, you've got to play with energy, with aggression, with forwards aggressive thinking, and this is what saved me and actually managed me to win this game. Now if b takes c4, all my pieces would have attacked with rook to d6 coming in, and white is winning here because this is such a strong attacking force, and queen f6 check will be coming next, leading to mate. So Harika had to capture with the queen, and now queen takes e5 check. She offered me a draw with her next move, king to h7, but already things have gone pear-shaped for her. Knight to f6 check, king g6, and I have my last long think here. Originally I thought I could go h4 with ideas of h5 check when the king is in serious trouble, but I suddenly realized that she can defend with queen to e6, and again in situations like this, if you make one slight error like h4, because you're material down, you lose all your initiative, all your power, and you will lose the game. And after queen to e6, even if I go h5 check, black can move the king to g7. Okay, I have a double check, knight to e8 check, but then something like king to f8, and I'm running out of steam in this position. So it just shows you how accurate you need to be when attacking and defending, but just simple calculation should really help you in situations like this. But luckily I can take on g8, and again it comes back to the factor, my opponent's king incredibly weak, my queen very strong, my rook very strong. All I have to do is make an escape square for my king, so now I can go to h2, so my rook can move, and also my pawn is useful in the attack, and black is lost here. For example, king h7, trying to run away, but now my rook enters into the attack. Where should it go? Well, it may look natural to put it on d7, but what does it do here? Not so much. And if you think always, even when you're attacking, think about your opponent's main defensive ideas. And here again, black would love to have time to play queen e6. So rook d6 is a much stronger idea here from me, with the idea of stopping queen e6 and attacking horizontally. So now the game finished, queen c1 check, my opponent in a horrible time trouble, king h2, f3, trying to create some counter threats, but now it's too late. I have the first attack, queen to f5 check, actually leads to mate, king h8, queen f6 check. If the king comes back, then I will take on f7 with check. So rook g7, but now rook d8 check, only one move, king h7, queen f5 check, and my opponent resigned in this position. Now the time control's been reached. She may have even lost on time, I can't remember, because there's one more move to make. But the point is, it is forced mate, because if rook g6, queen check, rook g7, queen f5 check, only one move, rook g7, but now rook d7 check, so I've cleared the f pawn for my rook to attack the king. And when the king moves, it's easy to see my queen will enter somewhere with a mating attack. So I can understand, very upsetting from my opponent there, obviously, and I think she won the ladies' prize anyway, so she still walked home with a nice chunk of money. But I still think a very interesting game, and it just shows you that if you play positions you're quite sort of happy playing, even though I got a bad opening in this game, I'm very happy in these chaotic positions. So always aim for positions you're comfortable in. My kind of positions, I understand this pawn structure incredibly well. And of course, like I mentioned before, if you want to also understand this pawn structure more, go to, well, buy my DVD when it comes out. Have to have a little plug on D4, the 6 hours just on this pawn structure, so you should have a great understanding at the end of it. And you need to know ideas like in the game, even though I had this rubbish position, you need to know ideas like the knight coming into the D6 square. Stuff like this is things you should think automatically when you're playing this type of position. And this sacrifice, well, I doubt it was entirely clear, but again, it shows you the practical problems that people have when they're defending. And this, even for a strong player like Harika, who came third in the Women's World Championships just last year, could not cope with the defensive demands put upon her position. So I was quite happy with that game. Not like my opponent, unfortunately, but it's a cutthroat business, this chess malarkey. And I hope you enjoyed the game. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and I'll be back probably with more blitz action next time. Thanks for now, bye.